Okay, I've got a question. What does a lackluster cocoa bean sorter, Hippity Hop Fizz, and just like a twinge of nepotism have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they are all key plot points in a movie from way back in 2019, an Easter flick from the Hallmark Channel called Easter Under Wraps. And we've got a lot to talk about, Jennifer.
We do, Josh, and we will unwrap it all from the basket on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
Okay, Josh, before we get started on our official podcasting business, I got to know, what is your favorite Easter candy? Like when you were a little Josh and you got that Easter morning, what were you hoping to see and the most excited that you saw? Not as adults, because, we have probably, we're older. We can't handle the sugar like we used to. I shouldn't speak for you. I can't. But when you were a little Josh, what were you the most excited about?
Well, gosh, I love a Reese's any time of the year.
Mm.
And I think the Reese's Rabbit is probably my go-to. I love the peanut butter. I love the chocolate. Give me a good Reese's any time of the year. Although I do like just a classic Jordan almond as well. No, you're not a Jordan almond. Sorry.
Well,
Mm.
not in an Easter basket. That was more like a Baptist wedding birth thing in my world. I do enjoy Reese's, and that's half healthy because it's got protein in it.
Sure.
Protein and dairy.
Let's tell ourselves that. Yes, okay.
That's fine. But I was always the most excited about it's the Cadbury mini eggs. They're in the purple bag
Mhm.
and they're the hard shell with the chocolate. Very delicious. And I also liked, and I don't know if you remember these, it was bubble gum, but it was in like a little styrofoam mini carton. It looked like an egg carton.
Hmm.
And it was these tiny, like chiclet pieces of gum that tasted awful. And you'd have to take like all 12 in your mouth to form like one regular sized piece of gum. But I don't know. I saw them the other day and I was like, oh, they still make those. I didn't get any, but nostalgia. So, anyway.
Nostalgia all the way around.
Yes, so comment on our video or on our socials. Let us know what your favorite Easter candy is. And now we will get to the summary. Josh, let us know what this movie's about.
Sure. So again, this is Hallmark Channel going back in the vault a little bit, 2019, few years ago, called Easter Under Wraps. And this one is all about Easter candy, specifically chocolate. And so here we go. Erin Cavendish goes undercover at her family's chocolate plant to see why sales are down when she meets head chocolatier Brian, who has new ideas on how to update the Easter product line. Let's go. Chocolatier. Very French.
I was gonna say, you know how I know you're bougie? Because you said chocolatier. Because I will for sure be saying chocolatier. I am from West Virginia. We are mountaineers and we have chocolate ears.
Yes,
And
but
bunnies have rabbit ears.
I just need you to know that anytime there's a word in the English language that has a French derivative, I have a really hard time with it. It's not just this word, chocolatier. It's any word that sort of has like a French sort of suffix thing happening because I just have my French teacher, Madame Biafour from high school, just ringing in my head, so there you go. Anyhow.
No, you were correct. I am not, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, you're gonna hear chocolatier a lot, and let her come for me. Let her come for me. All right. This movie stars Fiona Gubelman and Brendan Penny. Now, we talked about The Wedding Cottage with Brendan Penny in the past, and I've seen some of his other movies. This is, I think, our first Fiona flick, don't you think?
Yeah,
On the
I don't think I've seen her in anything that we've talked about. Of course, we've seen Brendan Penny before, and shout out to our good friend Annie F. Downs. She is a Brendan Penny big time fan. He is her favorite.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
So
right. So
here we go.
happy to see him again. So here we go. Okay, so our leading lady is Erin, and the leading male is Brian. And I have to write that in bold because I always mess up these names. And spoiler alert, this movie does me no favors with names, but we'll get there. So Erin, movie opens. She's upset that her competitor, Chalkmate, instead of checkmate, is modern chocolate. They're putting the hurt on her traditional chocolate biz, Cavendish. Easter is 6 weeks away, and more machines are turning over more chocolate faster, which should be a good thing in their corporate meeting. But we all know in Hallmarkville, technology equals bad, right? So, it's not going super well. Easter sales were down last year, and this cannot happen again. Now, Erin has been doing the marketing for her dad, who owns Cavendish, as a favor before she jaunts off to the big city for another marketing gig. But now she's going to go undercover to the manufacturing factory, which is out of town, to get more intel on how things can be improved at the factory. So it's definitely an undercover boss thing going on. Brendan Penny, we meet him, and he's in the factory, and he's none too pleased at the automation. Okay, he's curmudgeonly about it. So much so that this man, in his little candy maker factory smock, okay, that's like, PPO issued, bare-handedly grabs items off of the line, inspects them without gloves, because he's barehanded, and tosses them back in disgust. You know what, Brendan Penny? I'm disgusted that you're not wearing gloves. What in the world is going on? I need OSHA involved. I need the health department involved. I'm unhappy. Did you notice this? Is it just me?
I think you just noticed that. I didn't quite pick up
Mhm.
on that level of detail, but, I guess it makes sense. I don't see how latex gloves would be part of a Hallmark hero costume, but
True. Well, the other people in the factory wore gloves later, so at least they're abiding by my laws. So, Um, his department has lost 4 good people to the machines this month, and he's feeling his feelings about it. In comes Erin, who is now going to go by the name Veronica undercover, and nobody knows she's Erin Cavendish. I will tell you right now, I'm gonna say chocolatier, and I'm also gonna call her Erin the rest of the synopsis or summary here because I can't be bebopping around with the names. Sorry, here we are. So, they're showing her how to fill the chocolate trays. She's meeting some of the other employees. Okay, so they have her running her first, like, little chocolate thing, and she's wrapping is it butter bunnies? Is that what it was?
otherwise, yes. But they were basically
Gross.
just it sounds gross to me too, yeah. We could have come up with a better name for that, but it was basically like a molded chocolate bunny situation, and she's doing this sort of Lucille Ball in the chocolate factory. It was very much giving that where she can't quite keep up, and it's
Mhm.
supposed to be comedic. Did it seem funny to you?
And they tried. If you
Tried, yeah.
19 Hallmark, I think they tried hard
Yeah.
because every year we get a little more whimsical and quirky on the network. In 2019, this was good. I'll let it go.
Yeah.
So it's not going well. Okay, she keeps getting relocated because they don't know what to do with this girl. Brian has a lovely first day lunch table rant about how he wants corporate to listen to him. So he meets Erin. He's airing all his grievances to her and Flo, who was kind of her trainee. Loved Flo. Could have used more Flo in the movie.
Mhm.
So Erin gets bumped from another line and she gets assigned to working with Brian on the Easter basket assembly line. And he's telling her and, like, romanticizing the chocolate and this because basically they have a machine that makes an Easter basket and has their candy and it has the grass, has a ribbon versus, Stan or whoever this other guy was on the side handcrafting and assembling these baskets. And he's like, "Oh, this is," describing how much more it is, like, it's better when there's an artisan involved, and it was a steamy scene. I will say it's the steamiest, chocolate bunny scene I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
put that out there, and it was like he was unwrapping the foil, and I don't mean on the bunny, if you know what I'm saying, okay?
Was a very sort of intimate, very quickly kind of scene. Put a pin in
Very
that thought.
quickly.
Very quickly,
Yeah,
yes.
very quickly.
Mhm,
Yes, I
mhm.
agree. Okay. Mm. But, bunny's gotta be made, so here we are. Erin visits the Cavendish Chocolate Museum because the people she's staying with in town who know what she's up to, they're in on it. They run the museum, and they're precious, could use more of them too, but Brian bumps into her there, of course, and he introduces his daughter to Erin, and they're at an egg decorating event, not an egg decorating event, but Canada. Egg. He said egg the whole time. So we're gonna decorate some eggs, and
Eggs.
Erin immediately bonds with this child, of course, and they're all oogling because in the museum there's a display of the legendary Cavendish egg, which is basically like a chocolatey, sugary, large-scale version of like a Fabergé egg. I mean, lots of detail, lots of intricacies. It's something they used to do, and of course, progress and machinery took it away from them. Is that how you would describe this to us?
Absolutely. Yeah. Fabergé's totally lots of sugar flowers and lots of intricate frosting and all this other business. Yes.
Yeah, and they're probably at least, what, like 12 inches tall? I mean, the thing is
Oh,
huge.
yeah. It was big.
Yeah. Okay. So they're like, man, wouldn't it be great to get those back? Okay. Cut to Erin has been assigned to peddle samples of Cavendish chocolate at the town fair. And wouldn't you know it, Chalkmate, I wrote the Chalkmate tools. The Chalkmate guys, employees who are kind of toolish, are here giving her competition. The bros are broing out. Brian's daughter runs in an egg relay. And then coworker Flo is like, oh, come here, honey. I'll take you to get lemonade so that Erin and Brian can walk and talk and get to know one another better and flirt. And wouldn't you know it, no one is manning the Cavendish booth. They are here on company time, and not a one is handing out samples anymore.
No, no. And they're making you think that the stakes are so high, but yet they're abandoning post. It's very sort of, what was that one? Oh, very Heidelberg Holiday, where she sort of is like, I've got this opportunity, but I'm completely not going to do it because I have something else that I need to do, namely flirt with this
Mhm.
budding romantic interest. That's almost like a subtrope, it's sort of like one of these,
Mhm.
like beneath the trope of them abandoning their post to go do other things that we want to see them do in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, exactly. So Brian then says, he has his late wife. He talks about her a little bit. They talk about love. They get to know one another more. Then she takes a sample of one of the Chalkmates, like modern chocolates, which she didn't ask what was in it. And I guess it had what, cayenne pepper or jalapeno
Habanero.
in it. Yeah. Lights her mouth on fire. She runs out of scene to drink milk or something. And the Chalkmate bros are like, hey, Brian, we're looking for a new head chocolatier. And they're trying to poach Brian in front of a Cavendish, but they don't know she's a Cavendish, but really they should know she's a Cavendish if they're doing any, like, research on their competition,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she shoulda shown up in some media or some Googles by now.
Yeah,
Anyway.
because presumably she's the chief marketing officer for what amounts to Hershey's, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At least the Russell Stovers, if nothing else. Yeah,
At least.
at minimum. So, Brian's like, "No, no, no, I don't think so." And, the crisis is quickly squashed when Brian invites Aaron to go to the petting zoo with his daughter. Everything's coming up chocolate when the corporate guy, Carter from Cavendish, shows up at the factory unexpectedly and sees Aaron, and he didn't know that she was on this undercover mission? And so it's really tense for like 0.5 seconds, and then they sneak off into another room and she tells him what she's there for, and he doesn't really care. Other than he says, you need to wrap this up quickly and get back to your real job. Did you like Carter?
I think Carter was a bit of a missed opportunity in this movie for me
Agree.
because it was very clear he was villainy and they didn't go all in on the villainy around him. They sort of softened him up at this point in the movie where they're like, "Oh, that's what the whole thing is with her being here." So, we could talk more about that later, but
Yeah.
didn't like his
Yeah, but
character
I
all the way.
agree.
Yeah.
Mhm. So Erin's starting to feel torn now because she's a big fat liar. She's lying to Brian. She's catching feelings for him. She's, talking, bonding with the daughter, but she has her, to keep up this ruse for some reason. I don't really know why. And you know what? She's like, devil and angel on the shoulder. I'm going to continue the lie. I'm just going to go double down on the lie. I'm going to finish my mission and then I'm going to leave town abruptly because what's going to go wrong there?
Nothing wrong with ghosting.
And not, and then I'll tell him, then I'm just gonna peace out. Okay, girl, you do you. So, meanwhile, Brian is breaking out his pencil and his sketch pad, and he draws an egg much like the legendary Cavendish egg, while Erin is putting the finishing touches on the daughter's bunny costume, filling some motherly role. And Erin sees the sketch, and it's the prettiest thing she's ever seen, I guess. And she's like, you know what? Even though Brian, you basically just drew what was on display, let's launch a new design for the legendary Cavendish egg before Easter, which, P.S., is 3 weeks away at this point in the movie.
Yeah. Completely unrealistic. Let's launch a brand new product to hang our whole season on 3 weeks before the holiday. No, that's not how that
Which
works.
you're already saying you're struggling to keep up with the quotas in the factory as is.
No.
Math ain't mathin' to me, but you know what? They decide they're gonna pitch the idea to head of marketing, which is her. So that's awkward, but it's all through email. Hey, great news. Factory boss comes in and is like, hey guys, Aaron want Cavendish or the Cavendish people want to meet with you. Isn't that great? Brian, you should go present it. And Brian's like, no, I'm only going if Veronica joins me. So off they go to present to her father and his cohorts. Now, luckily, corporate was informed ahead of time, so they're going to continue the lie because poor Brian hasn't been lied to enough in this movie. So a whole corporate room office setting full of people lying to his face. They love his idea though. They think it's great. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to up the machinery for the boring chocolate and move the artisan employees to do the Cavendish egg and the baskets and these other things so we can get the best of both worlds with our chocolate company. Seems easy enough.
Yeah.
Corporate agrees. Let's do the Cavendish egg. Erin's going to tell Brian at this point. She's going to tell him the good news about the egg. She's going to tell him the news that she's, really Erin and not Veronica. Before she can do that, though, just right before, like just minutes before she was not going to be a liar anymore, oopsie doodles, Brian finds out Erin's true identity because he sees a picture of her in the factory boss's bookshelf that I guess had been covered up by something, showing her and her dad in this big Cavendish news report thing. So the jig is up. Brian looks like a fool. He feels like a fool. And you know what? He's thinking, I might take that job at Chalkmate because your family betrayed me, Erin. Whoopsie doodle.
Mega oopsie doodle
Erin,
here.
yeah. Erin goes back home, pumps out the marketing and the social media on the Cavendish egg because, it's basically Easter like in 5 seconds. News, news, news even does a special report on it. And the Cavendish egg lines out the door. Big smashing success. So much so that Erin's father now wants to make her VP. And I wrote nepotism, maybe?
Maybe. And Carter is just sitting there, just nodding his head like he's completely on board with this, which would not happen. He was angling for the big job there from go. Yeah.
I'd feel some type of way if I was Carter.
Oh, yeah.
Erin's former assistant who was covering her for her while she was, at the factory, she takes Erin's former job. Flo, remember Flo from the factory? She gets transferred to corporate, which is what she's been wanting for years, and nobody would give her the time of day, but Erin puts in a good word for her. And then Erin goes back to the town that the factory's in and goes to see the Easter program in the town. She apologizes to Brian. They tell each other they're falling in love with one another. She's sending him to Switzerland to study chocolate. He gets a promotion to head chocolatier. The daughter does her Easter performance to Here Comes Peter Cottontail, and she was Peter Cottontail. And then Erin and Brian basically make out in the crowd as a CGI butterfly takes flight.
It's time for gold or coal.
All right, so this is an Easter flick, but we are staying true to form here, and this is our gold or coal segment. And if you're new to the podcast, Jennifer and I love to give gifts, and we give some gifts if we think this movie's great, and we give some gifts if we think it stinks. And if there's more gold in this one, we're going to call it a flutter of amaretto. And if there's more coal, we're going to call it a rotten egg. So, Jennifer, hit me with it. What's your first gift?
And P.S. Flutter of amaretto was something that Brian uttered when he was seducing her with chocolate. His words.
Very early on, yes.
Poultry words are very early on. So my first gift has to be some gold because you know what? I'd never seen this movie. I've never seen an Easter movie, period, on Hallmark. There's not that many of them. We will be covering another one next time, but it's far and few between. I love a holiday movie. That's why we kind of got started in this podcast biz to begin with. So I loved that this movie oozed spring and Easter fun. Tulips, chocolate, springtime feels. What more do you want? Gold.
Yeah, they gave you all of the feels. It is one of those that's kind of a very seasonal movie, and they really leaned into it. I'm going to give a little bit of coal to start. I thought that the relationship was just so easy breezy and a little too quick. We didn't really get that friend vibe thing before it took a turn. It was very much all in on love at first sight, but in a way that didn't really feel quite so genuine to me. So it was just a weird thing. I remember sitting there watching it being like, oh, we're doing this already? We're doing this level of
Mhm.
flirting already? And it was just a
Yeah, I
little,
thought there'd be more like, "Oh, she's messing stuff up.
yeah.
He's irritated with her or
Yeah.
whatever." Yeah.
I think we needed him to be a little bit irritated by her incompetence, and then her sort of warm up to him and vice versa, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I'll agree. I'm gonna also give some call. Look, I thought this factory was hard pressed to get everything done in time for Easter, but we're gonna take the entire staff and shift them to build these giant handcrafted eggs. And 3 weeks before Easter, also they were also wanting to do the I'm just gonna say also a lot, I guess. Also, they were wanting them to do these Easter baskets. This doesn't make sense. This is not feasible. And how much do you think one of those legendary Cavendish eggs would set you back in this economy?
in this economy, at
In
least
this economy.
I'd guess at least $250, $300.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're probably right. Because it had, like, glitter on the inside.
Glitter on the
It had
inside.
glitter on the inside, a handcrafted butterfly or a
Yeah.
whatever little sugary thing that stands up in it. It kinda made me think of if you've ever been to Uncle Julio's, I don't know if that's a national thing or just a regional Mexican
Yes.
restaurant, Tex-Mex, and they have the chocolate piñata, and it's hard shelled, and you whack it with a thing, and stuffed churros and fruit fall out, and I love a chocolate piñata. That's what made me think of this. I'd price it more in, like, the $100 range, but yeah, I mean, who knows if tariffs are gonna hit the legendary Cavendish egg market? I don't know. Who's to say?
Every other egg is really expensive these days. Why wouldn't this one be?
Fine. That's true. Egg prices are soaring. I didn't even think about that. But it makes me wonder how many do you need to make? Because it's not like you would put this out at a Target or a big box. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
To move
this
your
is
whole
very
staff to
much.
making them, it just I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, not saying I have got the world's best business acumen, but I do have an MBA. And I will say that this poses all kinds of problems from an MBA perspective. So I agree with you 100%. My next gift is going to be gold. I wanted, like you, way more flow in this movie. I thought that as a B character goes, it doesn't get any better than Flo in this one for me because she was herself. She was unique. She had a storyline. She actually had desires and she had frustrations. And at the end of the day, she got what she wanted. So it was a very sort of satisfying full circle for Flo. And I thought that she was great. I wanted more Flo.
Yeah, I was happier for Flo getting her promotion to corporate than I was that Brian was head chocolatier and going to Switzerland all
Exactly.
that was just like, you're just giving that to your boyfriend, you know. But Flo deserved it. Flo's been putting in the sweat equity at this factory for years,
Years.
seemingly.
Hmm.
Justice for Flo, exactly. My last gift is gonna be some gold. I like Brendan Penny a lot in this movie. I do think, even though he had creepy talk about chocolate, that aside, I liked his excitement. I liked that he wanted to better the company. I did find myself kind of it was a little contagious how his little plans for how we could improve Cavendish. I thought it was cute. So
Hmm. And I'm going to give my last gift is some gold as well. I thought the B characters overall really rounded out this thing well, and they weren't one dimensional, right? We got a little bit of humor from some of them. We got some heart from some of the others. The couple that used to work at the factory but now run the Airbnb, they were really endearing. And I think we've seen that woman in a couple of these. I think she
Mhm.
plays some of these B characters throughout the
She may have been in Christmas and Evergreen.
Oh, that's
With
where I've seen her. You're
Amy.
absolutely right. She's in that one. And I think that the bros who played the chocolate guys who were trying to steal away Brendan Penny to be their head chocolatier. I I honestly thought that they really portrayed that bro vibe really well. And they did this thing when they introduced them when we saw them for the first time where they both had these matching Bluetooth things that they were talking on simultaneously. So
Which wasn't a thing in 2019 anymore.
no, no, but it definitely made me
Concert.
LOL. Yeah, I loved
Mhm.
it. So at the end of the day, we had 4 pieces of gold on this one. We had 2 pieces of coal, so we are going to call it a flutter of amaretto. And we definitely want to know what you think about this movie. So if you've seen it, be sure to leave us a comment on our social media or just leave us a comment below if you're watching us on YouTube. So final thoughts for you on this one, Jennifer.
I will say, just a sidebar, I resubscribed to Hallmark Plus to watch this movie and the one we're watching next, only to then realize that Easter Under Wraps and our next movie, which I'm spoiling, An Easter Bloom, are currently available to watch the entire thing for free on YouTube from
Oh,
Hallmark's channel. So
well, there
we're
you go.
going to, from time to time, put up some seasonal movies for free up there. So if you
Very
haven't seen
nice.
it, throw it on up there. Wish I'd known that ahead of time, $10 ago. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. I liked this movie a lot. I thought it was super cute. I agree with what you were saying earlier about Carter. I wish they had made him a little more villainous. 'Cause what were we doing, you know? I like when our villains are villainy.
Yeah,
He wasn't,
go
so
all in. I think, yeah, it's sort of that thing where if you're gonna have that kind of a character who's gonna try to undermine or be a foil to what the protagonist is doing, then really let them do that, right? Don't make it so
Mhm.
easy breezy for them and all of that. So yeah. But that's probably the only blemish for me. I thought overall this was a fun watch. Normally it's nice to see Hallmark go all in on a holiday that's not Christmas, and I feel like they really went all in on this one. The decor, the scenery, the events,
The egg relays,
the egg relay was just fun.
egg ch chocolate egg making, yeah, all of it
Yeah,
was super fun.
yeah. So,
Made me want some candy for sure, so.
chocolate, perhaps. And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch? If you like this episode, be sure to bop that like button if you're watching us on YouTube.
That's right, and special thanks as always to our friend Nick Schwartz, who we recently saw at my house for our egg hunt with our kids. Loved it. He wrote our theme song, and thank you for listening and watching.
So next time, and Jennifer hinted at this, we're going to be recapping and reviewing An Easter Bloom from Hallmark Channel. And here is the plot summary. A young gardener sets out to save her family farm by entering a floral competition for Easter. She meets a local pastor along the way who helps her restore the hope she's lost. This is a day spring joint. Normally we get a day spring around the Christmas season. So we're getting a day spring for Easter, which I guess is fitting. So as you can imagine, we're going to have much to discuss. And until then,
May your days be merry and bright. We'll see you next time.